Sunny Peace. Question, what was it like booking Florida after Eddie Graham's death? I didn't realise that you booked Florida.
Oh, yeah. I booked him. I was the booker when he died. This is a story about Florida, what happened. Dusty was booking it, and then either he got an offer or he presented an offer to the Charlotte office, which was Mid-Atlantic, because that's what Flair based out of. Dusty wanted to book it. And at least the NWA, they still had like a gentleman's code. You just wouldn't go into another territory and take their booker without getting, the okay from the owner of that territory. So I guess Jim Crockett picked up the phone and he talked to Eddie Graham about taking Dusty, and they let him go. Because Dusty, they would have to get a new booker, but I guess he thought Dusty could do better there. Or I would be better for Dusty because they were friends. But when Dusty left, he took all the talent that was over in Florida. He took Barry Windham. He took him. He took, I think, Billy Jack, maybe not. He took himself because he was the number one. But he took every talent that was over in Florida. He took them to Mid-Atlantic. So what's going to happen to Florida? All of a sudden, the Florida people sit down and watch TV, and Dusty's not there. Barry Windham is not there. Another guy is not. Wait a minute. What happened to the big guns? You took the big guns away. So the territory went into a deep spiral down. And that's when I somehow got the call. Would I be interested? And I said, yeah. So I went down there and met with them. We set a deal. And then I started booking Florida. And it was tough. It's almost like you're restarting. You had to restart all your heels, all your baby faces. You have to restart everything. So I was in a rebuilding process, but I'm thinking, well, how long are they going to give me to rebuild this? They may get impatient too, because I was getting impatient on my own. But, and the houses, it just wasn't drawing, it wasn't drawing. And the old office was on a street in Tampa. For anybody who knows about Tampa, it was 106 North Albany Street, I think. And the parking lot was just a bunch of sand out and some weeds growing out of it. It didn't even, it looked run down, really. So I used to go by there at night and go in the office because I would leave something there. So a couple of times I went down there at night. It'd be about 12 or 1 o'clock. And they had a big plate glass window at the front of the office. And the light would be on, which they would usually leave it on. But several times I caught Eddie Graham just sitting in the chair, looking straight ahead, not moving, not talking on the phone, just sitting there in the light. So, the way somebody sits kind of can reveal the mood they're in. And he looked very, very worried about something. And I knew he was kind of worried about the shape of the territories. He wasn't making any money. So this was about November, December. So remember, we went to, it was Super Bowl 84, I think. I'm pretty sure it was. Might have been 85. We were in Orlando, and it's usually a night show. We ran an afternoon show because the Super Bowl was that night. And right when we got ready to leave, the last match was in the ring, I got word that Eddie Graham had shot himself. And he's in the hospital. They don't expect him to live. You talk about a downer, because I loved Eddie. Eddie had one of the greatest wrestling minds I'd really ever come across at that time. So I used to sit and talk to him and pick his mind, and made a lot of sense. He was a he was a guy who believed in real tough wrestling. So I went back to Tampa and got another report. And the report I got was he didn't shoot himself once, shot himself twice, because he missed the first time, I imagine. And he was brain dead, and they were just waiting to pull the plug on it. So they pulled the plug the next day, and then he died. So that put a pall on everything. I mean, even the house shows, you know, and the guys, because they all knew Eddie. He was their friend. So, and he kills himself, and it was just a bad time. And I do remember that about 2 or 3 weeks after he died, we had a sellout. It's what we've been waiting for. We had a sellout in Sarasota that Eddie would have been very happy about, but he had already left. I heard later that he had been involved in some kind of a deal that kind of went south, or it wasn't quite legal. Nothing ever happened about it. And I still to this day don't know what he was worried about, because, you know, his son killed himself, mm-hmm. and the grandson. And it was, it's something you can't explain, something that happened. And I hated to be a part of it, but Eddie, wherever you are, I love you. And I'll see you again one day.
With Eddie, I've heard a couple of different things. One, that maybe it was like a real estate or land deal that had fallen apart, and also I think maybe his wife was leaving him. But everything was just a confluence of circumstances that just all hit him at the same time.
Maybe.
With Dusty leaving, was any, and taking a lot of wrestlers with him essentially, was there any heat, so to speak, on Dusty for... Did anyone basically blame Dusty for Eddie Graham's move?
No. I talked to Eddie when I first got there. There was no heat on Dusty at all. I think, and you know, Dusty, he lived by the old code too. You know, you just don't get up and leave this job, because you might want to come back to this job one day. You could go to Mid-Atlantic and it could just fall apart. You might need a job, and if you just left Eddie holding the bag, so to speak, he may not be so eager to give that job back to you. But I think there was no heat on Dusty, because Eddie and Dusty were friends. They used to go fishing together, hunting together, or whatever they did, and football. They both liked football. So I don't think there was any heat or nothing Eddie Graham never said one bad word about him. He just said he was one hell of a booker.